It's February, and despite the cold weather outside, things inside are getting steamy. That's right, it's Valentine's Day, my fellow nerds. To celebrate, we're gonna cover a spicy game. No, not Baldur's Gate 3. We love BG3, but that video's for another time. Today, I want to talk about a TTRPG with romance at the front and center of it all. So raise your swords and get ready for some sexual tension, because today, we're talking about Thirsty Sword Lesbians. Thirsty Sword Lesbians is an indie TTRPG that uses Powered by the Apocalypse mechanics to dramatic and daring effect. It takes inspiration from properties like She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, Steven Universe, and other media with queer and inclusive themes, as well as magical transformations and
swords!
In this full-on shipfest, players are magical girls with spicy tension and drama. We spell it that way because while the game is called Thirsty Sword Lesbians, you don't have to be a female or play a female character to play. Through fighting for justice and truth, players discover intense passions and dynamic relationships, all while wielding their iconic weapons and donning smexy outfits. The game, much like its name would imply, is inherently political, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't just say that because I happen to agree with the politics presented in this game either, though I do agree with them. Thirsty Sword Lesbians is the prime example of making something for yourself and your community. So often I hear people in nerd spaces say things like, why can't they just make new stuff for insert marginalized group here? Thirsty Sword Lesbians is that new thing. This game has a section where it talks about needing to respect certain people groups and backgrounds in order to play the game. I don't think this is a manifesto as much as it's a statement of fact. In order to enjoy a game that's written by people of certain backgrounds and for people of certain backgrounds, those cultures must be respected as a baseline for fundamental understanding of the game. For example, it would be foolish to try to play a game like Coyote and Crow without respecting indigenous people and indigenous cultures, because the fundamental basis for the game is a respect for such experiences. You literally miss the point of the game if you don't have the baseline of respect established going into that experience. In the same way, Thirsty Sword Lesbians is about queer romances among gender-diverse people of many different backgrounds. The game goes in depth about the nature of playing a romance-driven, narratively heavy game. The safety tools, guidelines for respect, and openness to queer themes aren't just political statements, they're part of the core gameplay. One of the most fundamental aspects of the game is the positive community, the group to which the players belong. This might be a team of heroes, like in She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, a chosen family, like in Steven Universe, or some other group of magic-endowed individuals. Similarly, the tone of this game is intended to combat darker themes, like bigotry and toxicity, if these elements are introduced at all. The cultures of each world the players explore is intended to value things like diversity, freedom, and hope. This is part of the feel that inspires the game's very specific genre. Redemption through the power of true love is a staple for worlds like these, and in a lot of ways, Thirsty Sword Lesbians strikes at the heart of several core fantasy themes through its gameplay. The most poignant of these is the power of true love, and true love's kiss specifically. As for core gameplay in session, we have Powered by the Apocalypse staples, like making a move, rolling 2d6 and adding your ability score, and character progression options offered by PBTA. When it comes to the game's specific flair, I really like the inclusivity of the language surrounding many of the elements of gameplay. While heartstring moves intended to appeal to others' emotional or physical desires, are most typically associated with romance. The game isn't written in such a way that these desires couldn't be appealed in a moral or platonic way, and they could actually be approached in a way that isn't necessarily romantic. Obviously, this video focuses on the romantic aspects of the game, but Thirsty Sword Lesbians is inclusive by its very nature, and I think that asexual people and ace characters have just as much of a place in these narratives as trans and non-binary folks, and even cis males. Just by virtue of its core themes, Thirsty Sword Lesbians is an inclusive, emotionally compelling, and thrilling game with loads of customization options and inspirations in media. It's a safe space for everyone, and it's a good time for those who want to combat injustice and tyranny. And really, don't we all need a little more of that these days? If you've played Thirsty Sword Lesbians, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments. If you made it this far in the video, drop me a bird emoji to let me know you're part of the flock of nerds. And until next time everyone, have a happy Valentine's Day. And whether it's on the page or at the table, tell your story your way.